to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. And have we got some exciting news coming out from David Ornstein? Contact has been made with Joshua Zirkzee of Bologna around a potential deal with Manchester United. It's coming from Ornstein, which means it's very, very, very much. We now know who Man United's priority striker is at this moment in time. It's very much like Branthwaite. This is the player we're moving on. Can we get the deal done? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the sort of player he is. But Manchester United have made contact with, it's the Ornstein bomber, says Calamity Jones. Well, it certainly is. And this is what he has had to say in the last few minutes. Manchester United are exploring a deal to sign Dutch striker Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna. Club-to-club talks have yet to take place, but United are speaking to the 23-year-old and their representatives, and their interest in those conversations is advanced. Now, further to that, I must just also say that as much as David Ornstein has said that and certainly given what you would call clarity, not dignity, credibility to the show. Also, I'm very excited that we're doing Portugal watch along tonight. Delo and Bruno starting for Portugal against Czech Republic, but that's after this. Also, there has been other stories coming out from other outlets saying that Manchester United were looking at him anyway. So I think that contact made with Joshua Zirkzee has to now be established as concrete. I'm sure there will be a Fabrizio update at some point because you know, this is the interesting world of the transfer window, isn't it? David Ornstein is a UK-based journalist. Fabrizio is Italian-based, and this is an Italian club in Bologna, so I'm pretty sure he will follow up with an update at some point. But absolutely interesting that Man United are in advanced talks with Joshua Zirkzee. Now, we haven't made any contact with the club. I wouldn't be worried about that at all. Zirkzee, a Bologna player, part of the Dutch Euro squad at the moment. Talks advanced with his representatives. We'll talk about the big agent fee because that's a problem, and I'll give you my opinion on this deal. But we don't need to talk to Bologna really yet because he has a release clause that was believed to be only applicable to Bayern Munich because that's where they got him from. But apparently the release clause is applicable to anybody who buys him. So £34 million for Zirkzee. The background to this deal, and we spoke to Fabrizio about this on Monday, didn't we? And he basically said that definitely advanced talks with Milan, and that was where he was expected to be going. So if United or any other club come in and you know, get Zirkzee, it will be because they've swooped in and done a deal beyond that of anybody else. Fabrizio has actually put something out and said that Manchester United are asking about the situation of Zirkzee in terms of salary and release clause. However, Milan are currently the absolute front runners and they have an agreement with the players. So that is interesting there. I hadn't seen that update from Fabrizio, so big shout out to the chat. I was just going to bring in what we know from when Fabrizio was on the show. Was it last Monday? It wasn't yesterday, was it? Where he said that Zirkzee and Milan are very, very advanced and it's expected to be announced at the start of July. This would be a steal then if United were to do it. So Milan still the front runners and still the favourites, but Man United have spoken to Zirkzee's representatives to see, I would say, what can be done. Of course, overarching this, there is the talk that the agent wants £12.5 million. Now, I would be disgusted in Manchester United doing that. I've got to be honest. Jason Jackson, welcome to the Members Club. I would be disgusted. I don't care whether he has a release clause of 34 million and in a normal market he would be worth 45 million. We shouldn't be giving an agent the steam off our piss, let alone 12 million. So I would hope that United, whatever happens, will not do that. But the player himself is interesting. I mean, look, there will be people out there that have seen a lot more of him than me. But I have seen him because we've been linked to him for pretty much most of the season. So you've got to do your homework. You've got to look at him. He's tall. He's tall. He's quick. I think he's about 6'3". What I've seen of Zirkzee is that he would be a very different type of striker, I think, to anything that we've really had in recent years. I see Zirkzee as somebody that really wants to get involved technically in the build-up play. I think he's a player that, would you say, I mean, he's nothing like Harry Kane, but what I'm saying is he has a tendency to get involved in the second or third phase of play. He's not necessarily playing on the last centre-back. He's not necessarily, waiting for the ball. He will go and get involved in it. Quick feet. If he wasn't so tall, I'd say he's one of those strikers that really was a winger. So he's technically, interesting. And I can't think of a player that we've had like that for a long time. Maybe Martial, Kevin, yeah. Maybe Martial's fair, yeah. Maybe Firmino is fair as well. Ginger's watching apparently, says me. Hey, I know he sometimes does watch. If we've got the great Ginge in, then he's very welcome. Hope you're doing well, mates. He might be busy doing something else and I might be being blagged, but if he is here, very, very welcome. I know he has watched in the past. Legend. But Martial liked the link-up play, says Ben Casey. Yes, and look, if Zirkzee ends up coming to Manchester United, I will have to go and do a hell of a lot more work on him than I have. But in what I know about him, quick, very good feet, likes to get involved in the build-up, technical player, and I think Zirkzee's the sort of player that you wouldn't be surprised if he sort of dropped 10 metres, got the ball and was looking to play Garnacho in or Ahmad in or whoever's on the wing. I think he's that sort of player that likes to do that. Now, Rasmus can do it, but it's not really. Rasmus wants to run the channels. He wants the ball early. Ronaldo, obviously, he didn't really want to do anything other than get service, which he can demand at that stage. Cavani was very much, very great movement in and around the box. So yeah, you probably, and Marcus Rashford, as we know, is not that type of a player. He wants to spin and run as well when he plays up front. So I think Martial would be probably the closest thing to Zirkzee. I don't want people to think Zirkzee's the next Martial because there's a height difference, and I see Zirkzee. I don't know what he reminds me of, but definitely somebody that can come and get part of the build-up. And obviously he's got goals in him. There's nothing. Look, I think it's too early to say we're going to make this signing. I think when David Ornstein is saying that we're in advanced talks with his team, then Manchester United over AC Milan with Erik ten Hag for a Dutch player might be quite more appealing than Milan. And I think that's where this might get interesting because we got to be very clever with our money. And I like Bayer at Hoffenheim. I like Zirkzee. Sesko is gone. Tony's very double the price. And Jonathan David, I don't think anybody really fancies. So Sesko signed the new deal, Hoyland. So Sesko's not coming. So I think really you go for somebody really young, like Bayer from Hoffenheim, or you go for somebody like Zirkzee, who I think is 23. It makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. And it is interesting because I remember speaking to Fabrizio when we got linked to him in February. And if anyone can remember that show, I don't want to misquote him, but I'm pretty sure when we spoke to Fabrizio about Zirkzee in February time, he said, good player, will move this summer and would do well in the Premier League, but doesn't really, he said, I don't think he suits the way I don't think he suits United. And I can't remember why he said it. And I think it was to do with maybe the way he plays. But I think that I would still say AC Milan are favourites, but Man United swooping in, as we've seen Chelsea do on many deals in the past and other clubs, there might be something here. And as I said, look, you might have a commitment to AC Milan, but Man United's probably more appealing. I think the barriers here are going to be the agent, because if he has pretty much agreed a deal with AC Milan, you would question, he's a very different type of number 9 Terp, yeah. You would question what AC Milan were willing to pay to the agent. And I don't want Man United to start paying stupid money. I don't want to be a hypocrite because it's a player I quite like the sound of. I don't want us to give an agent a third of the transfer fee on top of the transfer fee. This is a release clause of about 35 million, and there's talk of the agent wanting 10. I don't give a shit about your release clause. I mean, look, Mino Raiola did this. I said this the other day. He did this with Dortmund. That release clause isn't really a release clause if it's being used to pocket money. Go and educate yourself on Erling Haaland's move to Manchester City. some Man City fans try and pretend they got bargain of the year, bargain of the decade, because they only paid 70 million for Haaland. They didn't pay 70 million for Haaland. There was a shitload of money behind that went to agent and other people. So, look, we can't get excited about a release clause for 34 million if another 12 of it is going to go to the agent, because really we're not paying 34 million. We're paying nearly 50 million. So we have to be wary about these release clauses and what goes on behind them, because Riola started doing it, and it's clever because the club, you still end up paying the full price, but on paper you pay 60% and 40% goes to the agent. So we do need to be very careful about that. I don't know whether these things get publicised enough, but what we do know is that Manchester United tonight are in advanced talks with not Cody Gakpo. Manchester United are in advanced talks with the representatives of Joshua Zirkzee, and that is coming in from David Ornstein. We have had a very interesting update from Erik ten Hag as well on the problems of last season, which we'll talk about in a minute. Mark, I can't believe I'm going to my first match at Old Trafford in October for my son's birthday. Can't wait. Great evening as well, says Tracy. You'll love that, Tracy. Looking forward to that. I hope you are. Johnny Mack says, hi, Mark. Could you please call my nephew Sam a prat and wish him happy birthday? Happy birthday to Sam. Him and his dad are big fans of yours and the club. Thank you very much, says Johnny Mack. Thank you. Tor as well. Welcome to the Members Club. You're an absolute legend. Get your badge in there. What's your thoughts on Jonathan David? I've seen him mentioned, says Mark. Well, I think what we have to do at the moment is just focus on the fact that Zirkzee, see what happens there. I mean, honestly, I see a scenario where we sign Zirkzee. I mean, I know it's very early days, but how many of these stories have we reacted to over the years? And what I do is, and I'm sure you do it as well, when it comes from credible, like Ornstein and Romano, I look at it and go, well, how many of those deals, when they talk about it, actually get done? Quite a lot. And if it doesn't get done, then it reflects badly on our negotiations. So I think we'll get this deal done. I mean, I wouldn't go 90% club, but I'd certainly look at the current hotometer, and I'd be pushing Zirkzee up to probably an 8 now. I would. And we will update that for you tomorrow, but I'd be taking Zirkzee from a 5 to an 8, because I think that this is Ineos. This is Ten Hag staying. This is not in the Daily Mail. This is David Ornstein. And I think sometimes you've just got to analyse it and go, David Ornstein is saying that we're in advanced talks with Zirkzee. If we don't get that deal done, we know we missed out. We know we got rejected. We know we got snubbed. We know we didn't do the deal. If it's in the Daily Mail, and I know I'm saying the Daily Mail, but it's not, and it's not really fair on the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail doesn't have a journalist that is, a star when it comes to transfers like Ornstein and Romano are. So if it was in the Daily Mail that Man United made contact with Zirkzee and he signs for AC Milan, we'd sort of go, well, did we? Did we? But with this, you go, hold on a minute. David Ornstein said on Tuesday night that we were in advanced talks with the agent of Zirkzee. And he signed for AC Milan. Now, unless there is another scenario, I think the deal gets done. So I would put him up to an 8 now. Unless the only way out of this, I think, is you lose and you don't get him and he goes to Milan, or another story comes out from David Ornstein in a few days where Man United looked at Zirkzee, but the agent fees were ridiculous and they walked away, in which case you walk away with your head held high. So we could still not get the deal done, but the only reason I think it wouldn't get done now is if we decide we don't want to pay silly money. So, but yeah, interesting player, very interesting player. I said it at the start of the video, didn't I? I think for the last few weeks, even months, we've known we were going to buy a striker, but we've never known the identity of that striker. So do we now know it? And I think we do. I think we do. I think we know who that's going to be now. Let me just run a quick poll on this. Would you be happy with Zirkzee? If you wouldn't, well, let me know. If you would, let me know. Honestly, I think sometimes you might not be completely happy with the signing, But what do you want? And that's the way I look at it. You know, is Zirkzee the sort of player that Man City and Liverpool are going, oh my God? No, they're not, because they're not. But in the market that's out there, it's a good signing. It's a good sign. I mean, what else are you going to go for? I mean, for me, the only one that's made me... There's probably 3 or 4 but that aren't available or are too expensive. As I said, we looked at that Hoffenheim striker a few days ago. I think he looks interesting, very interesting. But I think Zirkzee's more experienced. And I think the price is appealing. And we want to bring in 5, 6, 7 players. So if you can bring a striker in for under 35 million, I think it's a very, very intelligent deal. And I can see why Manchester United are looking to do it. Somebody in the chat said, why have we left it so late? Why have we left it so late if this is the striker that we want, considering Milan, according to Fabrizio, are very, very close? I think there's a really easy explanation as to why we've left it so late, and I'm sure many of you are intelligent enough to figure it out. Number one, Erik ten Hag was only confirmed as our manager a week ago, and I would guarantee pound to a penny of shit that Erik ten Hag wants Zirkzee. I just think it is the sort of player that Ten Hag would like. Not just because of the Dutch connection. I think it's a player that Ten Hag would like. So I think Ten Hag managerial thing probably slowed down any advancement on Zirkzee. And secondly, I do think we were waiting to see what was happening with Sesko, because I think Sesko was probably the player that we were going to have a go for if he decided to leave Leipzig. Well, he's only just said he's staying at Leipzig. So I think that's why the Zirkzee deal probably hasn't been mentioned as much as it's been mentioned in the last 48 hours, because I think we were probably waiting to see what was happening with Sesko and Ten Hag. So that, to me, is logical. Thanks everyone who's getting involved, by the way. We deserved Zirkzee. He can play on the wing as well, says Jack. Hi, Mark. Could you have done that one? Would you be scared of Højlund losing his first striker position? This is a great question from Lily. I don't do Player FC. Now, people in the chat will be going, you do. I don't do Player FC because I do Manchester United FC. I can't stand Player FC. I think the amount of times over the years I've seen Bruno get attacked because Pogba FC want Pogba to play in that role. Or I've seen Martial get attacked because people want Rashford to play in that role. Or I've seen Rashford get attacked because people want Garnacho to get involved, play there. Player FC means nothing. It's nothing. It's about Man United. It's about competition for places. If you've got 2 strikers and one of them's Rasmus and the other one is Player B, and Player B comes into this club and competes and does well, and Rasmus doesn't, and Player B starts, fine. Rasmus has got to demand the shirt through performance and ability, and that's what I want across the whole pitch. Of course, my ideal team has got Bruno, Rasmus, Luke Shaw, Martinez, Mainu, Garnacho and others in it. But if Garnacho starts playing badly and Rashford starts playing well, then Rashford should play. And also, as Just Kevin says, it's a marathon. I know for a fact, I think Rasmus even said it in an interview, that throughout the time last season, I think he said it to me. It might not have been in the interview, it might have been off it, but I've definitely heard him say it. I wish Martial was fit. Like he actually said, I wish Martial was fit, because 3 games a week, especially when he's come back from a couple of injuries a couple of times, you'd be surprised how footballers are intelligent enough to know that betterment of them and the team is that they have somebody else to share the load. Having to play 90, well, it's more than 90, isn't it? It's 5 at the end of the half. It's 10 at the end of the second half. It's another 105 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week, as the only striker. No striker wants that. They want competition to share the load. They want competition because when they're tired, they know that they can't perform and that they're an injury risk themselves. I think some people think that players want to play every single minute, and there are players like that. But a lot of players know that there has to be rotation. A lot of players know that there'll be times in the season where they are carrying a knock or they are going through a dip in form. And that's what a team game is. You look at the way goalkeepers operate. Goalkeepers actually have really, really good relationships because they're in this little club where they sort of train together because it's a unique training process, isn't it? So you think about Anana, Biinda and Tom Heaton, they'd be in a little clique regularly because they're goalkeeper specialists. Now, they might be competing for places, but they're actually competing with each other collectively for the better good as well. And that happens with strikers. And look, I think Rasmus, I've said it before, has got the potential to be one of Europe's best strikers by the time he's 25. I think he's 4 years away from that. But he probably won't get there if he doesn't have competition for place. So I would say that it will make him a better player having competition for place, because I was saying this about Harry Kane in the game against Serbia. I thought in the last 20 minutes, he can't run in behind. I'd have took him off for Watkins. Southgate keeps him on. Harry Kane knows he's not going to get taken off. If he took him off for 20 minutes and Watkins scores, suddenly Harry Kane's thinking, shit, I need to up my game. That's how it works. That is how it works. You need competition for places. So yes, if you're just tuning in, make sure you smash a like and subscribe. David Ornstein has confirmed that Manchester United are in advanced talks with Joshua Zirkzee's representatives. However, Fabrizio has said that Manchester United are interested, but the best case scenario at the moment is still AC Milan, in the sense that they are still favourites. That can change, of course it can change, but I think we're going to get two scenarios here. United are going to look at the deal and say no, because of the money that the agent wants, or we'll get the deal done. And at the moment, I think it's looking like that might be the case. And also, let me also just say, Plettigol did say before Ornstein, and you know, you have to call it out, he said 3 hours ago, Man United, Zirkzee, still one of the desired targets. Man United is aware of Milan. However, the high commissions and demanded fees are currently complicating a transfer. Man United are also informed about this. So, look, Plettigol did put it out there before Ornstein, so give him some credit. But I think his update's really interesting because it says Man United are now closely monitoring the situation of Zirkzee again. That's the interesting thing. The Milan deal looks like it's been complicated by high agent fees and wages. So Man United are monitoring this situation because AC Milan, it looks like, haven't or aren't happy with agent fees and other fees. Now, we got to be careful, because if Milan aren't happy with it, we shouldn't be happy with it either. I don't want us stealing a deal off Milan because we're going to give the agent £10 million. So we need to be a little bit careful as well. But I'm confident Jimenez would be a better option. Jimenez, obviously Mexican striker for Feyenoord. Never ever heard us linked to him, which is surprising. I'm sure we probably have scouted him, but I've never heard us linked to him. Cyber Spider says, surely we won't give the agent that for a player when we won't give it to Newcastle for a sporting director. As for Evans, as long as he's not second centre-back, says Cyber Spider. Love that. Thank you very much. Also, just talking about the striker situation, and what's this here about? Radcliffe wants to show that it's a departure from the previous regime, that they're quick and determined to get their business done. And that's from David Ornstein about Jared Branthwaite as well. So Jim Radcliffe wants to show that it's a departure from the Glazer regime, that they're quick and determined to get their business done. I think that Branthwaite deal, one way or another, we'll find out very, very quickly in relation to that. I really do. Don't forget, though, on Zirkzee, Romano's update, Man United have asked to be informed about the situation in terms of salary and release clause. However, Milan are currently the front runners. So it's going to be interesting on Zirkzee. It's going to be very interesting on Zirkzee. Let me just talk to you about something else. I am on That's Football very shortly for Portugal against Czech Republic. The Portugal team, Costa, Dalot, Pepe, Diaz, Cancelo, Silva, Bruno, Vitina, Mendes, and then Ronaldo and Leao. It's a good team. It's a good team, and I'm excited to see it. But there was an update that came out today in relation to the Mirror and Erik ten Hag, which I found very, very interesting. And effectively what it was saying is that Erik ten Hag reckons some of his Man United players were badly affected by the negativity surrounding the club last season, that it caused them to get injured. Ten Hag is of the belief that several of his squad were not mentally tough enough to cope with the criticism that came their way, with some unable to play through the pain barrier. Interesting story, because what it's basically saying is that some Man United players last season were injured because of the negativity around the club and were unable to put themselves through the pain barrier to play. Effectively, I think it's probably true. I know I laughed at it a little bit, but I think it's probably true, because I agree with this. This is exactly what Rooney said. It's exactly what I think another ex-United player alluded to. We spoke about it a few times during the season. I said it about 4 weeks before Rooney said it, because we'd been told it from somebody. It's called weak mentality. I think that's just a nice way of saying weak mentality. So that article is saying that Ten Hag had concerns that some players couldn't deal with the pressure and therefore couldn't play through the pain barrier when they were injured. I would translate that to a more blunt, some people were using injuries as a reason not to play. Some people were, injured and not willing to play. I think Johnny Evans played injured. Bruno Fernandes did it numerous times. I think Marcus Rashford did it a few times, in fairness, as well. But I do think some players didn't fancy it. And I'm not going to call it out as sensationalist and fake news, because we spoke about this in March. Rooney spoke about it on national TV. I think it's absolutely true. The volume of injuries we had last season was very, very unlucky. But you're telling me that every single one of those injured players couldn't always play. I would even take it further and say, I don't think some of those players didn't play because they were scared. I think some of those players didn't play because they just didn't want to put the shirt on. For whatever reason. Fear, wanting the manager out, not fancying it, not willing to roll their sleeves up. You can't say there's a mentality problem at Man United and then not acknowledge that some players might not want to put the shirt on. Look at what happened at Anfield last season. How does 1-0 and 2-0 become 7-0? There is a weak mentality in that football club, and Sir Jim Radcliffe knows it. Sir David Brailsford knows it. They know it. We know it. You know it. They know it. The issue is to bring in players that don't have that mentality and remove those players that do. So for me, it's not breaking news. I actually think it could have been blunter than that. I actually think the article sounds a little bit, fanciful, that Ten Hag thinks that players were injured because of the pressure and couldn't play through the pain barrier. I think, let's be more blunt, players didn't fancy playing for Man United. I think that's... And the great thing about that is we don't need to name the players because it's irrelevant. Last season, I think there were occasions where some people didn't fancy it. And exactly the same thing happened to Ralph Rangnick 2 years ago. In the last month that he was at Man United, we suddenly had a huge injury crisis where people were getting ill and knocks and they didn't fancy it. And, this is what happened. Orca says that Zirkzee is me. Loving the show. In Mallorca at the moment, says Eggs. Oh, I wish I was. Recommend any places to visit. Keeping well away from pineapple sellers, of course. Love you, Mark. Get yourself to Parma. Parma's a lovely, it's the capital, isn't it? Parma Cathedral. I mean, realistically, I don't think you can go wrong anywhere. Parma. Calador's a nice little place. Nice little harbour there. I like Parma Nova, even though it is next to Magaluf. I mean, if you want to go and have a look at Magaluf, it's an eye-opener. But Parma Nova's a nicer area. Porta Pollenza Alcudia is fantastic, especially if you want to take a drive up to the lighthouse of Formentor. Oh my god, the drive up there is amazing. Anyway, it's like wish you were here with Goldbridge. Have a great time, mate. He gave us a super chat, give him a bit of help. Lovely place. Would you sell Rashford to buy Elise, says Grace. Elise, yes, I would. I'm not going to dwell on that because people start being negative, but ask an honest question, I'll give you an honest answer. And I want creativity from the wing. Do you think Erik ten Hag could play with two strikers? says Jonathan. I don't want to see that, to be honest with you. But Calador 100% says Zoltan. Surely we won't give the agent that for a player. Yeah, 100% Cyber Spider said that as well. Look, fantastic show tonight. Very, very quick update because I need to be on That's Football to watch Portugal, which I'm sure many of you are going to do with me as well. So let's get over there. Give me a couple of minutes. Tell the chat I'm just going for a quick bath. I'm not really. I'm just going to get a quick drink and then I will be live with you. Continuing the conversation, watching the GOAT, Ronaldo with Bruno and Delo. Can't wait. What can Portugal do? Let's see it over there. But I tell you what, I know the Euros are going on, but this is a significant update tonight. I think the Zirkzee deal is going to get done because I think the update from Ornstein is a star. And I think the only way this deal won't happen is if United look at it and put it out there that they walked away because the agent fees were big. One of those two things are going to happen. What do you think? What do you think about the player? Get your comments in. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe. I'll see you over on That's Football in a couple of minutes.